hopefully get through the patterns quickly. And I just want to say hello and good evening to everyone who's joining us live on Facebook. So nice to see you. And we also have our family here on Zoom. So as every Thursday, we bring you the 108 Pearls of Wisdom. But tonight is a very special night to see you. Tonight we have a nugget of wisdom instead of a pearl of wisdom. And Mynoo is going to come on shortly to explain the difference in a pearl of wisdom and a nugget of wisdom. So tonight she will reveal the 7 hidden secrets that are underpinning our patterns. And we all have patterns. We all know what that means, but we often don't know necessarily what they are or how to deal with them. So we'll get some insight into that, what causes them, how to release them, and then how to unleash yourself so you can go forth and multiply in magical ways. So that's what's in store tonight with our nugget of wisdom, which is pattern. That's going to take about a half an hour, but knowing Mynoo, that might be about 45 minutes. So we will have time at the end for unveiling more of the 2022 energies, what to expect, where we're headed. And every week, I think, as we near the closing of 2021 and venture into the opening of 2022, Mynoo will just give us a little bit more guidance and information on what to expect and how to work with those energies. As she just explained to me, there are no more slipstreams. So she'll explain a little bit about what that means, what we're to do as we close up 2021 and what we will be doing going forward in 2022. So very excited about our nugget of wisdom tonight, which is based on patterns and then all that's to come afterwards. So thank you all. And Mynoo has joined us live from Dubai. Really great to see you, Mynoo.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Yeah, I'm in the middle of not in the middle, towards the tail end of a cleanse, a 7-day fasting cleanse. So I'm feeling very good today after many days of allowing my body to work through the various toxins that were being released. So very happy to be here. Yes.
Well, Mynoo, I was just mentioning that tonight is a nugget of wisdom, which is different than a pearl of wisdom. And maybe you can share the difference in what to expect. And tonight is our nugget of wisdom on patterns.
Yes. So a pearl of wisdom is such that each pearl is whole and complete in itself, that if you only ever implemented that pearl, it enables our work for you to make your contribution to create a world that becomes a world that works for everyone. So each pearl is whole and complete in itself. A nugget of wisdom is an insight, into something that is quite important and also affects our lives. And it's it's a particular discovery about that particular nugget. The nuggets of wisdom usually are just one word type things, and then I go do a deep dive into it. So today we talk about patterns, and we talk about the 7 hidden secrets that underpin our patterns. So yes, that's what we're talking about. I will go through this faster than I usually do, because as we get closer to the 12th of December, I would like to share with as many people as possible what 2022 means for them. So Catherine, last time I had actually talked about it with some people. So if you can remember the ones that I have not done yet, and I will talk to them. I don't know whether you remember or not, but we'll see. And if you know that you haven't received this from me, then send it in the chat, so Catherine can make sure that I talk about 2022 for you.
Perfect. And Mynoo, that would be great. So if anyone has not had a reading, which we had, or insight, I should say, just let me know ahead of time so we can organize that. And whatever we have time for tonight, we will do. And if we run over as we near into 2022, we will get to you. So
great.
Over to you, Mynoo, to unleash our nugget of wisdom on patterns.
Thank you. Okay. And I make my notes usually, so which I have done here also. I'm just bringing that up so I can access it. It's amazing, all this technology that has to coexist. Okay. So the nugget of wisdom on patterns, the first thing is to really get to understand what I mean by patterns. And I'm really talking about patterns within us, right? And what I mean by patterns is, something occurs, you make some choices, or certain situations occur, they affect you in a certain way, and you move on from there. Sometimes, often it doesn't feel very good when that happens, but you regroup and yourself and you move forward. And then a few years down the line, something else occurs, which again doesn't feel that good. And there is some similarity in what had occurred before. You again regroup yourself and you move forward. And then further down the line, something else occurs. And you see these occurrences happen with different people at different times, in different situations, in different circumstances, in different scenarios. And that's when you know that there is a pattern there. Because the one that is common across all of those occurrences is you. Even though the circumstances may change, the people may change, the projects may change, but you're the one that is uniting. That is the unifying factor across all of these. And in the body of work that we do in Living from Source, in the Journey into Miracles, we uncover the autopilot saboteur that is the originator of these patterns. Today, we are not talking about that. We are talking about other hidden secrets that underpin this pattern forming thing. Why does it even happen? Like I've had the opportunity to observe children from the time of their birth as they're growing up. With my two grandkids, with all this wisdom that I now have, my observations are quite nuanced. And I can see that little 7.5-month-old, he hasn't got any patterns yet. The 3.5, on the other hand, is developing some patterns. So, there's something that happens that starts to create that cycle of patterns. The 7.5-month-old still is very much in the space of living in the moment to moment, and he reacts and responds to whatever it is that he wishes to do in that moment. He's completely standing in his leadership, commanding all of us with his cuteness. There are no patterns yet. He shares what he learns, like he's starting to make some connections. He's starting to recognize, like he knows that a cow makes a sound called moo. I think his mom has been telling him that. So when a picture of a cow, we show it to him, he, like squirts his mouth and starts making that sound. Like he's really in the moment. The 3.5-year-old mostly is in the moment. And yet he has a certain way in which he connects with people, which I can see he connects with different people in different ways. He's already developing some form of entitlement that is there. And from that, it leads to disappointments. And then that leads to his reaction. And he knows that a reaction to his papa of a certain kind is going to generate a particular response. The same reaction to his mama, she will not really give him what he wants. So he tailors his reaction in a different way, right? But I mean, you can see that there is this dot connecting that is taking place. And I'm just noticing that my computer is showing low battery. So pause a minute. I'm just going to charge my computer right now.
While we're waiting for Mynoo, I want to make sure, is there anyone here tonight that did not have the 2022 energy conversation with Mynoo? Linda, I don't think you had. Okay. I'm just making note of everyone that's going to need that reading. Sarah, did we take care of you with the last reading? Okay. And Vince, I know you got yours. Lee? Okay, good. Good. We got, and Mina, I don't know. I haven't had.
Yeah. Mina,
Yes.
I'm Mina. I would like to have my reading as well today. I missed it last time.
Okay, wonderful. So Linda and Mina will try to get to both of you tonight. So I think everyone else had their reading. And here we are, back to patterns.
So the first thing to get about patterns is we are not born with it, you know. It's not just natural. It isn't something we inherit even. It is a function of choices that we make. Now, there is ancestral stuff. There is lineage stuff. There is some things to do with past life that govern how we react and respond. But we make the choices in the face of all of that. And it is our choices that give rise to patterns. To me, that was a very powerful understanding that, okay, it is my choices. Now, some of these choices may be unconscious because you're in a group or you're in the groove, or you're in an environment, in a culture, so you don't even realize it. There is patterns that cultures have. There's patterns that societies have, nations have, and there is a pattern that we create, which is a function of our choice that we are to conform. But a pattern is a function of a choice that you have made, consciously or unconsciously. So let's look at what are these hidden secrets that underpin our patterns, and how you understand them, how you unleash yourself from them. Now, those of you who already know what your autopilot saboteur is, that is like the foundation of why you make certain choices. And once you start atrophying your autopilot, you automatically start to release these patterns. And those who don't know, understanding these hidden secrets will enable you to work with these patterns and not be at the beck and call of the patterns. The first hidden secret is pairing, as in a pair. So the origin of our first foray into patterns comes from comes in relationship to someone else or something else. And it's very focused on a singular relationship. It's as if you are paired with that person or that particular environment, and you have certain experiences. They may be pleasurable, they may be not very pleasurable, and you form an understanding based on your experience and the meaning you've given your experience. And a desire is created to want to go back to that experience. Where it becomes a dysfunctional pattern, there is a codependency that got created as a result of this pairing. There is a validation and entitlement that got fueled, and that is what propels you in relationship to these kinds of relationships or these kinds of experiences. So what I found is, and usually what happens is, it originates at a very, very young age, and it starts to show up in your relationships long after that age is gone, because this pairing association is seeded within you, and it keeps resurfacing every time there is anything similar. It could be a smell or an environment or a sound of voice, a tone of voice, or certain types of conversation, and that pairing instinct unblocks itself. And you suddenly find yourself sliding into conversations, observations, interactions, which sometimes you even know they're going to lead to a train wreck, but you're not able to hold yourself back because you're in that grip of the first hidden secret, which is that desire to pair up. The desire to pair up, is also about belonging. It's also about feeling that you are wanted and you want someone or something. This pairing can be applied across multiple things: people, places, needs, wants, desires. And so the way I worked with this is I look at, when was the first time ever you recall feeling this way? And I often say to people, when is the first time ever you recall feeling this way? Don't become over analytical about it. You can even close your eyes and you can just find when was it when you first felt this way. Whilst the pattern itself may be related to relationships that are here and now, because you've seen it happen previously, it is a pattern. To uncover where it originated tells you what was occurring, what was that pairing instinct that was threatening your survival at the time. And that's, once you uncover that, that what has happened is that little girl or that little boy at that time, with those feelings and experiences, as an energy signature, has got trapped in your field and is seeking to feel safe, seeking to belong, and keeping the cellular memories of that experience alive. And you start seeking that experience through your choices as you continue to live your life. So sometimes you see people going for, in their choice of partners, finding partners that match some aspect of their fathers. like in my case, my dad was tall, handsome, very, very, very motivated, driven, principled, very focused person. And I did get abused by him physically, like, beaten up. Okay, not all the time, but occasionally. So there was that history of abuse just because he just didn't know how to express his frustration or his love even, which was underlying his frustrations. Fast forward many years later, I fall in love with a really charming, handsome, spirited young man. And, 7 years later, we get married and our relationship turns into one of physical abuse again. So there was a pattern to it. And it's, the reason why we are doing this as a nugget of wisdom, once you recognize that a pattern occurring is a function of the choices you make. When I think back, yeah, I got married to him 7 years after we met. In those 7 years, he was not physically violent to me, but there were lots of emotional blackmail type, very strong indicators that suggested that there was stuff in his personality that really was not what was going to serve me. So I could have chosen not to continue and go forward with the marriage. But this pairing instinct was so strongly embedded that it was somehow, in an odd sort of way, a safe place to go. And it also meant that I allowed myself to be violated in that way and continue for that to be so for 10 years before I finally decided to move on. Now, understanding that it actually originated from my choice. See, whatever occurred with my dad occurred. It did not need to become a pattern. Right? It became a pattern because of the choices I made. This is the thing to get. That, okay, a seed is sown, but if it is actually going to give rise to weeds, and the moment you see the first emergence of a weed, you can deal with it. You can actually get it out from the root. But if you allow that weed to grow and it starts to take over your entire garden, it's much harder to clean it out. And it's never too late. Even today, you can go back and look at what are the patterns that I'm aware of in my behavior towards. It could be in relationship to money. It could be in relationship to, to your friends, to your partner, to your lover, to your children, to your siblings, to your work. Where are the patterns? And then look at when was the first time I felt this way? And what is the pairing that was going on there? Where is it that I wanted to belong as a pair? And then once you understand that, all there is to do is to say, okay, I allow myself to receive that little boy, that little girl, do the unconditional acceptance process, where you look at everything that you felt at the time that you may feel now, and there's nothing to analyze other than just acknowledge. And when you've acknowledged it enough and there is nothing left to acknowledge, that's when you say, okay, I unconditionally accept that and I integrate. And I fully receive unconditionally this person that originated this pattern because of this desire and fueled by pairing instinct. You belong. We belong together. We are one. And that pattern drops. I mean, each one of these, by the way, is a huge body of work. We can literally spend, a month on each one, working it through. I'm just giving you the highlights. The second hidden secret is arrangements. There is a safety in those arrangements that we make, so we arrange our lives in such a way that these patterns can flourish, can blossom, even though it feels dysfunctional. So we put ourselves in situations. So we see that there is a pattern in the kind of places we like to stay, the kind that the environments that we like to be a part of, the communities we like to be a part of, the communities that we don't even register or don't even wish to know. I mean, all of this is pretty tough right now when you know that uncertainty is certain and there is take nothing for granted is a modus operandi. Becoming very rigid about arrangements. Like consciously, you may be very evolved, subconsciously, unconsciously, there are still many things that you are very attached to, where things have to be a certain way. There is lots of have to, need tos. For this one, your lay of the land examinations is about the have to, need to, in terms of the arrangements that you create for yourself. So for me, when I did this exercise, what I noticed, I didn't realize it until I did this exercise, that I am a sprinter in every area of my life. So if when I sprint, I can get to the finish line. Like I have to see the finish line and I have to get to it. If the finish line is someday, one day in the future, doesn't motivate me. I can't just, to me, it feels like plodding along into the unknown and not knowing anything. And of course, I live in the world where, I have taken many years to get comfortable with discomfort, get comfortable with saying the phrase, I don't know, But this attachment to arrangements was the one that meant that I wouldn't, if I felt there was something that I didn't know, I wouldn't even go there. I wouldn't even attempt it. It took away the joie de vivre from my life. So when I did this body of work, I literally looked at physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. Where do I have the attachment to, need to, have to, must to? Those kind of things. And then I actually examined, what arrangements do I put in place? Unfortunately for me, I had lived in many countries, in different houses, and gone through life in such a way that I had the experience of different social status that I myself was accomplishing, and therefore my communities were changing as I went along, and there was still a pattern of arrangement that I had put in place, which basically meant it depleted me from fully receiving the juice of what I had there available to me. Because I was always either surrounding myself in the boundaries of the arrangements that I had made, looking for that as a ratification, or I was, feeling a little unsafe because I couldn't find them, and therefore looking at the closest exit. All of this just, like literally fell apart, and it was very destabilizing, which is when my physical health fell apart. And then I decided to embark on that famous Bali trip where I went for 3 weeks and stayed for 9 years. And because I was in such a realm of the unknown, that all I could do was allow. And in that allowing, I started receiving, because there was such an avalanche of love that came through. And in that receiving, I started uncovering the real me. And the experience of a world that is filled with wonder, that is colorful, that is divinely guided, has a lightness of being, and is totally miraculous, unfolded. Now I can work with arrangements. And I also know that if something doesn't quite deliver, doesn't quite happen, I can move on with blessings to everyone that was there at that time, honoring their contribution and honoring my own desires and needs also, which I never did before. They were always overlooked. So look at that for yourself as you work with certainly releasing your patterns, depleting the power that they have over you. The third hidden secret in pattern is it's tyranny. It gives you a false sense of power. And it's an unreasonable use of power that you start engaging in. Sometimes unbeknown to you, sometimes it is known to you. So when you are gripped, when you're in the grip of patterns as a way of running your life, as opposed to aliveness that comes from living your life moment by moment, from time to time, you find yourself in this tyranny type behavior, cruel, unreasonable use of power. You may not want to admit that to anyone, but you can certainly look at where you might have done this within yourself. Now, you can choose to be very passive aggressive about it. You can choose to be very smiley faced about it. But to yourself, just look at where you have exercised an unreasonable use of your power. Again, it's an indicator that you are operating as a victim of your patterns. Aliveness is in the moment. The moment you plug into the moment, you are alive. This attachment to past and future, neither of which exists, results in you creating fear in its negative connotation as the rocket fuel for how you choose to drive the vehicle that is you, of living your life. And then tyranny is a given from time to time. It's not a very pleasant realization but it is totally worth examining. If you've identified the patterns, then you know that tyranny also has been a part of how you've chosen to live your life. See, these nuggets of wisdom or the pearls of wisdom are here for us to see what's so and make conscious choices. As we enter an environment of flowing in flow right now, leading straight into the year, which is the year of rejoicing. So even uncovering where you have operated from tyranny, or tyranny showed up in your behavior, and also in you tolerating others to behave that way with you. Both of those basically say that tyranny is existent in your field. Nothing can happen to you or come to you if it doesn't already exist there. There is no vibrational match. It won't show up, and it certainly will not stay. If it shows up, it'll be a passing thing. So if you are a victim of tyranny, or you have experienced it, you know that you also are holding within you, and you also have exercised it at some point in your life. Use the power of acknowledgement to release yourself from it. In your acknowledgement lies the release of tyranny. And of course, as you start operating outside of the world of patterns, then there is no foundation for it to exist. Insecurity, inferiority complex, superiority complex, different forms of personality behaviors that we talk about. Many of them are result in this expression of this tyranny aspect, the tyranny vibration, an unreasonable use of power. The fourth hidden secret in a pattern is it makes you a natural truant. You know, like a school kid missing classes. You know, and as you grow up into an adult and there is no school, there is always the school of life. There is always the school of living your life. We always are in school. And you become a truant, missing classes that you know are going to serve you. And you can make them serve you for your highest good based on how you choose to apply the knowledge that you're gaining from going to school. So patterns, if you were to look at where have I run away from life, where have I run away from facing up to the consequences, where have I run away from even joy? I mean, there are people who are so ingrained in the pattern of upset or sadness or pain that too much of a good thing also gets them to run away because it feels unreal. They can justify it all they want, but it's this truant part that is playing out. So whilst we are allowing ourselves to be operating from patterns or keeping certain patterns in place, you know that you're holding this truant vibe of running away. The fifth one is echelon. And it's really about belonging to an echelon. You know, I didn't do it when I was experiencing domestic violence. So I didn't join any support groups or anything like that. But since I have had my spiritual awakenings, I often speak with women who have gone through these times of abuse in their life. And it's as if I see this desire to belong to this group of women who were victims of abuse, and just that desire to even continue to belong there prevents you from breaking out of your pattern. You are who you are. You have your own standing. You have your own presence. You will or will not show up in your regalia. That's your choice. You don't have to do anything just to belong to a particular echelon. There is no status in that. Others may judge you for it. But your status really is whatever it is that you make. If you do something just for the purposes of belonging and you compromise on what it is that you want for your life, just so that you belong to this group of people, keeps many dysfunctional patterns alive and kicking and thriving within you. You release and relinquish the desire of defining your identity by the echelons you belong to. Those many patterns just diffuse, they go away. So if you find yourself comparing you and your identity to someone else, there is this echelon part that's playing out. In my corporate world, I certainly felt that, you are the company you keep. And I'd heard this from, many coaches and stuff. So it was something that I would very proactively be conscious about. I am who I am. And I always will be. I get that now. And I'm a magnet for exactly the perfect people to be drawn to me. And that's who you are too. Going after some people just because I want to belong to that echelon because I'm judged by the company I keep actually just makes you needy. Your vibe is quite sticky and you get a pushback. And then you get a pushback again, and then there's a pattern of pushback. Well, that's because you are a victim of your patterns. This whole victim piece is of our own creation. It is of our own choices. You can completely choose to unchoose that. And you step away from that victimhood instantly. When you realize that, okay, everything is occurring as a function of my choice. You are who you are. And in owning that fully, you show up in your regalia and you are seen by the groups that what it is that you are matters the most. And you're then a comrade as opposed to a wannabe. And the sixth hidden secret underpinning our patterns is this conflict between regular and, rising to match a particular standard. It's like such an aversion to regular. But really what it is we are not okay. We're really lacking. Like they say, you have a deficiency. We have a deficiency of okayness, a chronic deficiency of okayness. It's just not okay to simply be okay. And it is totally okay to simply be okay. Because in that simplicity of okayness, you truly and wholly receive yourself. So being regular actually is a source of strength. Oh, these are just regular trees that grow in this part of my region. Trees are filled with the vibe of okayness. There's stillness in them. Chaos can occur around, including chaos that even uproots them. They still remain in the vibe of okayness that is a part of their strength. Nothing shakes them. They're able to be true to their nature. An apple tree will produce apples. Even if the soil is completely unhealthy, it still will. Doesn't waver from that. Doesn't become a victim of externally set patterns. It knows what it's here to do and cause and make happen, and it does it. So the resurgence of regular releases you from patterns. Pushing it back creates a conflict between wanting to rise to something or somewhere where you may have to put on a pretense to be there, as opposed to be your regular self. And the seventh hidden secret of pattern is it's now, in that it is a disconnect from the now. Being at the beck and call of your patterns, you only oscillate between the past and the future. Everything is a judgment or an evaluation or a function of or as a result of something that might have occurred in the past, or something that you are, or is a justification towards something that you're planning for the future that isn't quite here yet. So it disconnects you. You remain disconnected from the now. My sister shared this amazing, beautiful photograph yesterday with me, and I thought it was a necklace that she'd bought. And actually, it wasn't a necklace. It was the journey of a blackberry, as in the fruit blackberry. What it goes through from the time that that tiny little white flower emerges to the time that it becomes a fully ripened blackberry. And it was like, wow, I had so many blackberry bushes in my garden in the UK. And we would go for walks to Hampstead Heath, and during the blackberry time, we would go blackberry picking, and never really noticed this. When you are not in the now, you're engaged in what I call as consumption, which results in instant gratification. But it takes away long-term fulfillment, and it depletes you of your creativity. So being at the beck and call of our patterns, using our patterns as a way of justifying our experience of life, takes you away from aliveness. I'll share that photograph of the journey of the blackberry in our WhatsApp group. You'll see how beautiful it is. It truly looks like a piece of jewelry. So those are the 7 hidden secrets. I mean, there's a huge body of work under each one of them. And I wanted to just go through at least the 7 so that you can start thinking through and working your way out of releasing your patterns. And those of you who've done the work of living from source, stand in source and examine what remains as your patterns, using this this fresh understanding of the underpinning of these patterns. So with that, I complete this part. Catherine, anything you would like to say to complete this section? And I can talk a little bit about the 2022 coming up.
Mynoo, I've heard you for many, many years. And tonight I got it in a different way. Thank you we all have these patterns and we often don't realize that we have them. And I think this is an entire body of work, which we can each take our own journey into. So thank you for bringing this back up. And I think we can maybe even take it to the next level as we go forward. But I would love to have you talk about the 2022 energies in the last 15 minutes. And I think Linda and Mynoo would like to have one. They're the only 2 on the call tonight who have not received that from you yet. So back over to you, Mynoo, and thank you so much. That was extraordinary.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everyone. So just a couple more things to say about 2021 as we are coming towards the end of these energies. So 2021 energies, they come to a completion on the 12th of December. Even though it is not a slipstream energy, it is certainly very rapid and very, very forward moving time. So if you have any intentions that you wish to move forward to a conclusion, to get to a point where you can leverage the 2022 vibe, then this is a time to do that, So if you have got big projects, just break it down into little pieces so that you can literally say, okay, today I'm going to get this done, or this week I'm going to accomplish this. Next week I'm going to accomplish that. You allow yourself. See, in my world, I always say, take your mind along. So to utilize, it's like a countdown to the completion of flowing and flow. And in this countdown, the way you can serve yourself best is by keeping your finger on the pulse of your own yumminess. Being plugged into the yumminess of you flowing in your flow. And you can apply that yumminess of you flowing in your flow to accomplish anything, any project that you have been wanting to accomplish for yourself. And you can literally use baby step strategy to make huge strides. Right? So taking a baby step to achieve this particular milestone, like a baby walking, it leaves the hand that it was holding on to as it was learning to walk, and it takes 1 or 2 steps. And then everybody around cheers and encourages, and then in no time at all, they're running. It's that kind of baby step I'm talking about. So look at your work projects, business projects, life projects, relationship projects. Don't overwhelm yourself, because it can get overwhelming because the movement is very fast. What you will find is, like, I do many things in parallel. I've literally gone into 2 things. that I'm moving forward between now and the 12th of December. And if those two things get to a point at the level that I want them to get to, I would have achieved 2 years of my velocity plan within a matter of a few days. And I'm playing it as a game. So there's a lightness of being about it. I'm literally taking baby steps, knowing that my own field is more than enough has more than enough of cheerleaders in my trillions of cells that make my presence up, that will be encouragement enough for me to go from taking that one baby step to starting to run. Right? And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing what is happening. It is phenomenal. That is what is occurring. There's a particular way in which I want to bring my body of work out as service to the world. So we've been talking about this for a while, and within a matter of few hours, the whole strategy got created. It required someone really accomplished to run it, and it would be great if this person has done my work, so they operate from that attitude. One of the Fed members literally came up and said, I'm getting this idea that this is really what I want to do next in my life. And it literally, I had said the ideal person would be her to run this. And that's what emerged. But it came from literally utilizing, knowing what we know about this time and utilizing it to accomplish something that I want to get a move on. So look at that for yourself. It's not like a slipstream where you just trust and it'll take you there. The movement is on already. All you have to do is be in that yumminess of flowing in your flow and to utilize this time to move forward very specific projects, be it sale of a house, be it a particular relationship, be it your health, be it your career, be it your money situation, whatever it may be. Choose. What is it that you want to get to, and get your mind with you as you're planning it and working with it and working that plan. Very important at this time. It is foundational for the yumminess of you flowing in your flow to take your mind along every step of the way. So whatever you do now, just make sure that that yumminess of flowing in your flow will not occur if your mind is disconnected. Which is why I'm saying plan, have a milestone, work your plan. Your mind is very happily engaged in that. Knows you're safe. You're thinking things through. So utilize this time in a very powerful way. 2022 is all about rejoicing, and we will have another session which I'll just dedicate to 2022 and how to work with the rejoicing energies. And very conscious of the time, so I'm just going to talk to Linda and to Meena, and I'm going to stop the recording at this point.